Welcome to Assembly Update. I'm Assemblyman Angelo Santabarbara, representing the 111th Assembly District, which includes Montgomery County, parts of Schenectady County, and parts of Albany County. Today, we are going to talk about some veterans issues, some veterans organizations, and we have with us two local veterans from my district. Welcome Louis Lupi, World War II veteran who served in the infantry and in the Air Force. Welcome to the show, Lou. And we also have Bob Becker, who is the legislative chairman of the New York State Council of Veterans Organizations and a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you.
So why don't we start off with a little background on your military experience. Lou, you want to start off with some history on your background?
Well, I don't know where to start, but we did discuss some of these things before, and if you can sort of prompt me what you would like me to discuss, or what
well, particularly how you got involved in the, you served in World War II.
Yeah, 45 and 46 till the end of 46.
And how did,
in Europe.
I guess, how did that come to be? You lived in the town of Rotterdam?
Yes. Yeah, born and raised in Rotterdam, correctly.
And how did your military service begin?
Well, I was called to duty in 1944, and I left in my junior year, and was trained in the south of Arkansas and Texas, and then we were able to board the ship out of Boston to go to Europe, and that was one of the most devastating experiences as far as being aboard ship, because we went so far north. The reason to escape from the Nazi U-boats, because they were still circling up there, and we went a little further north, and we were unescorted, and my commander said that I want you to be in charge of the galley. I remember me saying that. So the storm got so bad, we had a few injured aboard, being all young fellas, but I was trained to know that this would come about, because my commander described me how bad it would be, and it was. Fourth day we were out, it was totally dark, the waves were very high, and everybody got seasick, but I was only seasick for a couple hours, because he told me, I want you to eat as often as you can, and so that seemed to be the cure for me to get not to be so seasick. And then, of course, it took 9 days to get up and come down and go at Normandy, and we entered Omaha Beach, and we were welcomed by the guys that were there, and they were rough shape, but then we took us through the I'm having a senior moment, what do you call them? But anyway, we went through the barricades and so forth.
Yeah.
What was the name? There's another name for it. And we boarded the trucks and went through, and finally went through Germany, and that was the way. And there's still a lot of things. And of course, I got injured twice while I was in Europe. I was blown off the Autobahn, and that was my second injury, actually. And the war was over, and because I spoke German, and so I couldn't go first line duty in case they would call us to go to South Pacific. He said, you'd stay here and you speak German and Italian and so forth. So you have a lot of prisoners here. We have to distribute them to satisfy the Geneva Convention. And I had a trip of taking 285 with 10 guards to Marseille, France, which took us also 9 days, just about, because the tracks were bombed out.
Yeah.
We ran out of food. It was very cold winters in 44 and 45. Well, there's more things that happened after the war than I didn't think would be dangerous, but it was.
Yeah.
And we were blown off the Autobahn there because four of us were, we had we just had plain OD clothes, and we're looking for Nazi criminals of war in these DP camps. And something hit us, and our vehicle went up in the air, and that's all I could remember. And smoke and heat and blast.
Well, and being inside the vehicle, you kind of
Yes.
you really don't know what
And
happened
rode
outside.
down, but I was thrown out toward the rear, so I didn't suffer too much, but enough, broken
Yeah.
arm and so forth.
Yeah.
But I already had a busted leg previously, because I was almost 3 months in the hospital with the original. And that was quite an event, and there were other events, and I don't know if you want to know anything else.
Yes,
but
we're going to
that's
touch
general.
on those. We're going to touch on those as well. Let's go to Bob now.
Sure.
Bob, can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in military service?
Well, I got out of high school and worked part-time, and I decided to go into, I bowled in the league with my dad, and we bowled with the Navy recruiters. Well, and then I went down to the next morning because the Navy recruiter says come down, and that's when the Navy and the Marine Corps was together. And the Navy didn't show up, so I joined the Marine Corps. And,
Okay.
that's how I got in the Marine Corps, and I spent roughly about 8 years on active duty, and the rest of it was with reserves, and I retired as a company, infantry company first sergeant, and spending some time overseas, but I didn't receive any combat.
And your years of service are 1960
1960 to 84.
to 84. And I know you've been an active veteran since then. in
Very,
the
very
area.
much. There's a lot going on. I'm a very strong advocate to help our veterans and their families, and and we just got to change some of the leadership's thinking to help them. We're not really asking to give us all this money and everything else. We just want them to take care of our brothers and sisters who served, and a lot of them come back with injuries, and they're having a hard time. The backlog in the VA system is very scary. They're about a million backlog, and we're trying to help them move it, but it's a big cycle down there in Washington, D.C. And in the state here, it's not as bad, but it's still a big circle, and I enjoy helping our veterans. We have our monthly meeting. We meet at the 11th floor in the VA hospital for the New York State Council of Veteran Organizations. We have 37 veteran organizations that are part of us. And we talk over legislation, and we approach our leaders in a diplomatic way to tell them, this is our concerns, how can you help us with our concerns, and some of the leaders really don't know who we are.
Yeah.
And like I said, the American people really don't know who we are. I think we have roughly 2% of American going into the military. That means there's 98% that doesn't know who we are.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to force anything on the general public or our leaders. We just want to let them know that we served our country and we help keep this country free. And we just want a little help from our leadership in the federal government and the state.
Well, and I think that's important. And I do serve on the Veterans Committee, and I do hear your name come up, and I know you're there.
I come to the meetings, and I appreciate what they're doing, and I understand that there's the dollar sign is a big thing. If there's no money, you can pass any law if you don't put any funds to it.
Right.
What good is it?
Right.
But you need the funds to it, and so there's some issues in the state here that we're happy, like the Senate came out with a veteran cemetery, which we've been fighting as the council for the last 25 years to get one. We haven't got it yet. Well, I can say the Assembly and the Senate put funds in their budget, and it passed, which is good. Now, I think it's Senator Ball that has the cemetery bill, and I think it's going to have to be down in around his area, not because he put the bill in, it's because they base everything on population.
Right.
And when you go north of Albany here, the population goes down in veterans, and so we want to make sure we have a cemetery that takes care of our veterans.
There's a higher concentration of veterans living in that area.
Yeah, you got Nassau County and Suffolk County. I think it's the two biggest counties in veterans, and then you got the Erie County.
Yeah.
And then like Schenectady County has roughly about 13,000 veterans, which is really small. Then you got the Hamilton County. It's got about 560 veterans.
Yeah.
So you
it's
can
a big
see that
difference.
we don't want to go too far north, but we don't want to push them out.
Right.
No.
Yeah, you'd like to include
We
everybody.
like to include everybody, and most of the people when they go to visit their next of kin in the cemetery, they don't want to drive 2, 3, 4 hours to get to
Right.
it. They want to drive reasonable,
Sure.
maybe an hour or
Sure.
something like that. So
Yeah, and that's something that's very important, and that would really mean a lot, I think, to our veterans in New York
it would.
State.
You know, the federal government will build a cemetery for you. Well, there's criteria. The state has to own the property. The federal government builds a cemetery for you and give it to, the question is who now? Who's going to take it over? The Veterans Administration here in the state, Department of Veterans, or OGS? We don't know. I think it's going to be the Veterans Administration is going to take it over.
And then there's the maintenance and
And then
everything
there's
that goes along
maintenance
with
and
it.
the upkeep they have each
Right.
year, you know, and that's going to be added into the budget there. So
Yeah.
we did a survey, and I think of cemeteries that the government has built, like in Connecticut and New Jersey, and when you get up to $900,000 a year to maintain a cemetery, I mean, that's a little expensive, but
Yeah.
you know, why it's so expensive, I can't answer that. So
Right,
we just got the cost and everything else. But you know, we're hoping everything falls in place, and I don't like, there's some of the information in it that I really don't like. I don't like our municipalities getting involved in let the state run the cemetery, not the municipalities,
Yeah.
because that leaves the door open for political influence in who gets buried in the cemetery. And I don't, you know, if it's going to be a veteran cemetery, let's leave it for the veterans.
Right, exactly. It shouldn't be a political issue. This is about veterans and about people that served our country.
Right.
And you mentioned people coming back with injuries. I know, Lou, you had talked about some injuries. How did those injuries affect your life when you came back from overseas?
Well, I recovered quite well. And of course, now at my age, I mean, I just can't run or like I used to, and I can't lift anything, and because it's developing a little arthritis in the joints and so forth. But I'm being fairly well taken care of by the Veterans Administration,
And you've been
so
to the
my
VA hospital
vitals, my vitals are good. I passed it. My
Okay.
physical vitals good a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. And I know, and Bob, you volunteer actually at the VA hospital.
Yes, I drive for the DAV, picking passengers up in Schenectady County and taking them to and from the VA hospital Monday through Friday. So, and we're working with the Veterans Administration right now in Schenectady County with Bill Frank, and we're looking for a grant to purchase another van.
Yeah.
Because the one we got
good.
right now, it's got about 140,000 miles, and we got it when it was only 2 miles on it. So it's getting to a point where
Yeah.
it's going to the maintenance shop maybe every other week, and so we don't want to lose our veterans. This is just, it's something that we wanted to do for a long time, is help our veterans, so they don't have to take the bus and everything else and use some
Yeah.
of their monies. That's why we drive them over, and we pick them up, bring them back home, and it's they appreciate it. So.
Yeah. And what are you seeing? I've had a chance to visit the VA hospital as well on particular days when events are going on up there. What are you seeing as far as people in the VA hospital? Is there overwhelming need for it, or is it fluctuating, or do you think
Well,
that?
the Veterans Administration, I have to commend General Tuchecki, who runs the Veterans Administration on the national level. The VA hospitals, and I only could speak of a couple I've been in, the one down in Palm Beach, I think West Palm Beach, Florida, and no, 3 of them, and one in Washington and here, and I have to say I commend them for they do a great job. Linda Weiss, our director of the VA in Albany here, her staff does a marvelous job, you know, and their job is to serve the veteran and help them with their health care, and they do a great job. I can't knock them. I wish I could, but I can't, because they do a great job. But it's
I got to give credit where credit is due,
I
right?
do, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm a hard person to give credit where credit's due, but I have to give them credit over there, because they take care of me. I'm a disabled vet, and I go over and use the VA quite often. So.
And I know you both are involved with many organizations, veterans organizations. We are going to take a short break. We've been talking with Louis Lupi and Bob Becker. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the organizations, some of the other veterans issues in your community.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Packers. Viking. Packers. Viking. Viking.
Red state, blue state, vegan.
Carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
Night owl.
Early
We
bird.
come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities,
Live.
our families,
United.
even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at energysavers.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back to Assembly Update. I'm Assembly Member Angelo Santabarbara. My district office is at 1170 Riverfront Center, Amsterdam, New York, 12010. I can be reached by phone at 518-843-0227 or by email at santabarbara@assembly.state.ny.us. Welcome back to Assembly Update. We've been talking with two veterans from my district, Louis Lupi and Bob Becker. Thank you both for being here, and thank you for your service, more importantly.
Thank you. Thank you for thanking us.
I know that you both are involved in veterans organizations, and I see you around the community all the time. Lou, actually, you are president of an organization called the 8th Air Force Historical Society.
Yes, we meet at the 19 Air Base. We had a large number of veterans going way back and our historical society is divided into 3 sections. We have the downstate, which is New York City area, Staten Island, that is below Kingston to New York City, and then we have the upper center, which I'm the president of, and then we have the, which is the greater part, and then we have the western, which is Syracuse to Buffalo. And ours, the central, is from the Syracuse to the border of Vermont and Massachusetts.
And these are all veterans involved in this
Yes,
organization?
now what has happened, because we're losing a lot of the veterans, especially World War II, and we are allowing members that want to join, even though they didn't serve in, say, World War II or Korea and so forth, they're able to join as honorable members.
Now, and that's, and I've had a chance to visit a lot of the organizations and the VFWs as well, and I know there's a lot of organizations that they're all saying the same thing. The American Legion, they're saying that we used to have a tremendous membership and it keeps shrinking. Bob, is that what you're finding across the district?
We're losing about 1,500 World War II veterans a day.
That's a big number.
They had 16 million World War II veterans. They're down to 1 million now.
Wow.
So, and it's scary, but you know, reality, we're going to get to a point that, you know, we're all going to end up dying. But it's happening, and it's really shrunk. We had 26 million veterans in the United States, and right now I think we're down to about 22. You know, and that's all heirs.
And memberships in these groups are shrinking. I know the VFW,
Yes.
we did have a good turnout on Memorial Day, but however, in past years, we haven't seen the room as full.
Yeah, well, the American Legion and the VFW are the 2 largest veteran organizations with roughly, a couple years ago, they had roughly 3 million members. They're below the 3 million now. It's going down, and it's not that they're not out there. We got an awful lot of veterans coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq, but they're all young, and and most of the ones don't join right away. They usually get a job and have a family and everything else. Then as the kids grow up, they eventually join us. And like the Marine Corps League in the state of New York, we're roughly 6,000 members. We were at 7,000 members here about 5 years ago, so you can see that they're going down.
Yeah.
And
And one of the things that you're involved with directly, Bob, and I know I've seen both of you at veterans events. Memorial Day had just passed. Those ceremonies are very important to the community, in my opinion, and your organizations that are involved are the ones that are shrinking. What goes into the Memorial Day service we just had in Rotterdam? What goes into putting that together?
well, number one, we sit down, we have a veterans committee in Rotterdam, and we bring in all the veteran organizations that are in Rotterdam, and we bring in the fire department, because usually they're part of us too, because they're part of our parade that we have and everything else. And then we sit down and discuss on who's going to do what, and we usually have to find a guest speaker, and that's getting harder and harder because our military is moving away from us. We lost the Marine Corps Reserves in Albany, or in Schenectady. They moved to Connecticut, and it's shrinking down. So it's hard to get that. And that's set down, and we sit down, and then we give everybody a job, and then Memorial Day comes. It's the same way with the parade. We put both together at the same time.
Right.
And the parade is a hard thing because I had to cancel last week's parade, which was hard.
Because of the weather, right?
Because of the weather, and I think I did the right thing. But some people say, well, it didn't rain. Well, I can't do anything about that.
It's better to be
It's better
safe.
to be safe and sorry.
Yes.
But it's everybody's effort over there. Everybody's input makes us move forward, and it's nice to have everybody that we have. In Rotterdam, we have more on the Veterans Committee than we have in the Schenectady County one, because we got about 5 that's actually running the Schenectady County Veterans Council.
Yeah.
And we do that because we had Vale Cemetery on Memorial Day, and we had about 250 people present, which really was good. That's growing. And then we had the one down at Veterans Park, which is right after Vale Cemetery, and that's growing. And Rotterdam had a good turnout, but not as good as in the past.
I saw,
So the past, we've had others, I don't know, maybe most of our people are thinking that, well, it's a holiday, so I can go out and whatever you want to do.
But it's important to remember the true meaning of the holiday.
Oh, yes. Remember our brothers and sisters. That's what the day is, to remember them that did so much for us.
Right.
We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them.
Yeah.
And we have to thank every one of them.
Yes, absolutely, and that's what that holiday is about. And Lou, I know you attend all these ceremonies, almost all of them. I see all of them. What does it mean?
Try.
What does it mean that these are happening year after year? What does it mean to you attending these events?
Well, it's our patriotism and devotion, and that we love our country and our freedoms. And we recognize the human being where other countries perhaps don't know and recognize like we do. We're a famous country. And I would like to see it done even better in some avenues and some departments and so forth. And it's too bad that times have changed where some of this has been overlooked, and we should have more people that be interested in our basic freedoms that we have and promote them.
And I was happy. I'm happy to see that these parades and these ceremonies are still happening. I was in Hageman and back in Schenectady and in Rotterdam, and they're happening all over the district. Whether or not the attendance is growing in all of them, I don't know, but at least there's still people still taking charge and making them happen. People like yourselves, and I want to thank you for that. And you talked a little bit about, remembering veterans and doing things for veterans. I know, Bob, you've been involved with policy. You're up here at the Capitol. What are some of the issues right now that are really important?
Our council, New York State Council of Veteran Organizations, got 4 issues this year. One is the Veterans Tax Credit. We feel that if a business hires someone, they should be able to get some kind of tax credit, and I think there's some legislation right now pending. And the county service agencies, we like to, without them, our veterans don't get their disabilities and everything else, and there's not the help there. We got to keep them strong. We got to make sure that they get some money every year in their budget. And we talked about the state cemetery already, and the last one is the homelessness. We want to help our homeless. It's I know General Cichecki has, I think, made a promise by 2015 the homeless will be gone, but I'm hoping. He's done a good job. It's gone down about maybe 4,000 or 5,000 or something like that. So that's a plus right there. So that's what we got on the state level, But there's issues on the national level too. So
And these bills and issues and things, I know they come through the Veterans Affairs Committee. I do see you there. Some of them I am sponsoring, but we certainly want to hear from you going forward.
Well, we do. The director of the Veterans Affairs Committee, Assemblyman Benedino.
Yes.
Nice guy, and he's doing a great job, And we just hope that we can get some of the stuff passed. I know there's two parties there, and we're hoping that the two parties can understand who we are and leave the rest of the political arena out of this. So that's all we're looking for, is working together as a team to create a better lifestyle for our veterans and their family after they have served our country. And
to make sure that we're honoring our veterans and doing the right thing for them. And you're right. You both said it. The veterans serve our country. They come back. They deserve the attention from the people that are making the policies. Lou, I know you had some experience overseas, and I know you wanted to mention a few things that happened to you over there. What would you say? What was it like serving with other people in the overseas while you were there?
In what category? What do you mean?
When you got there, working with people and being with other soldiers there for the first time, what was that experience like for you?
Well, we suffered a lot, even though when the war was over, there was a lot of the soldiers and were going home, and we had some difficult tasks because we were short-handed, and of course there was always problems with the enemy that we conquered, and there was a language barrier, and so we had tried to help them out. And the strange situation after the war is, well, the streets are just a pile of stones and rocks, and the roads are not all straight yet, and so the people were, especially in Germany, the people would not come out too much in the day, and if they come out later in the early evening, they were the older people, because they felt that maybe we wouldn't be too rough on them. Not that, but the idea that they were suffering and they were starving like we were. And General Patton, who I admire, he had us. With the help of the local towns or villages, to have the volunteers, the German people themselves, if they were able to, and go cut the wood in the forest.
Well, we're out of time, but I certainly want to thank you for sharing that story, and I want to thank you for both being on the show. We'll have to have you back where we could share some more of those stories. Thank you for joining us on Assembly Update. Join us again. We've been talking about veterans today. We'll talk more about your community on the next show.
Thank you.
Thank you.